Mic'd up. Mic'd up.
Didn't want to play.
All right. Okay.
Got some technical difficulties just now. We all disappeared. Well, welcome everybody. We had some technical difficulties. I assume we're live still.
We are live. I see record. There's a button.
I see record as well. Well, welcome to another weekly episode of Yankees Coast to Coast. I'm your co-host, Michael Miller. Our leader today is Adam Schneider, and our favorite guest of the day is Frankie the Yankee, who is wearing another new outfit for today. So before we start, I want to mention my hat. I know I usually wear a Yankees hat, but today, as an A's employee, and the reports out of ESPN and NBC locally here is that the A's are moving to Sacramento next year. So I'm going to lose my $17.14 an hour job, which is actually it's not that lonely this year because we've closed one of the box offices as a box office ticket salesperson for the Oakland Athletics. So
I got a great idea. Why don't you call Wild, Enrico Suave, and then you can stay over at his place every time you got to work.
Yeah, that's
He's gonna love that.
Yeah, he's got a one bed. I got a studio apartment. That's what I want to do. Live in a studio apartment.
Will love it also.
Anyhow, here's our plan for today. We're going to discuss the Yankees' great start briefly, just because it is Yankees Coast to Coast. We'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then we'll get to the topic of the day, which is the best and worst starts to a season and what impact they have on the full season. We'll focus on baseball, but we do have people commenting from other sports as well. First off, I do want to remind everybody you can leave a comment or as many 30-second comments as you want by pressing the microphone on the show page at the bottom of the page that you're watching. And you could leave 30-second messages. And Willie will try and get to as many of them as we can. We do have several already sitting out there for us. So we're looking good today, boys. So let's start with.
It's been a great week. What a great Yankee week, man. I mean, it's great to be. Let's state it like it is for every baseball fan across the country. All of our millions of fans out there listening right now. Whether you like the Yankees or the Mets or any team right now, it is a good time. I love it. It's fun. I feel like I've got a friend every night. You know, isn't that the best part? It's like somebody to talk to. You got your Yankees to yell at. It's just a great time of year. It's a great sport for that. And I think we're lucky. I feel bad for people who don't get that.
Do you think the Met fans are feeling that way right now?
I think the Met fans, they get 2 or 3 wins, I'll be perfectly happy. So the Mets are feeling a little pain.
They won today?
They won the second game of the doubleheader in the 9th inning, it looks like.
All right. Good for the Mets.
So they're fine. They're fine. I don't think they're a good team, but I don't think that they're certainly going to be competitive. And
I don't think they're as bad
but the Yankees, man, wow. I mean, really doing things that we haven't seen them doing a lot. A lot of the stuff that we talk about on this show, they are doing. And of course, we've still got the guys doing what they always do. But because of a step up in other parts of the game, they're being great. They're being selective. I think we're getting an incredible start from Juan, and Volpe. You gotta see Volpe's showing a lot of talent, mostly because he seems to have fixed his swing path. He's not trying to hit. He's not worried about exit velo and launch angle. He's worried about hitting the ball. That's
Well,
a nice.
I will say this: he's not swinging and missing, except when David Cohn says he doesn't swing and miss. But his strikeout rate is still at 23%, but that's down from almost 28 last year. But
That's
he isn't swinging
year-over-year
outside
thing.
the zone. His strikeouts are looking, and his hard hit rate
Yeah.
is over 50%. Last year it was
Mhm.
43%. His pull rate is about the same, but he's going oppo a little bit more. He's going oppo 19% of the time instead of 15% of the time. So
Yeah.
the other big thing is his pitches per at bat are over 4.5, and he was under 4 last year. So he's seeing a lot more pitches, which goes to being selective. What do you think, Frankie? What's your biggest thing you're taking away from the Yanks so far?
I think he looks more disciplined at the plate. His approach looks better. To me, is it me? Does he look thicker to you?
He worked out. They say he gained up some muscle.
He looks that.
I mean, he's 20 years old. I mean, how hard? I mean, you're ever if you you walk around the block, you gain muscle when you're 21.
Yeah.
So he really worked out.
But that was my biggest take of that. He just looked better.
Well, my biggest take is I think the influence of the new hitting coach in Soto has been pretty apparent. Their walk rate is up, their strikeout rate is down, their pull rate is down, their opposite field rate is skyrocketing. They only went oppo 18% of the time last year. This year they're over 26%. Their line drive rate is up, it's above major league average. Their fly ball rate is actually down, but their hard hit rate is just floundering a little bit. But you go oppo, you don't necessarily hit it as hard. But I'm really, between Oswaldo and Volpe, Soto is usually a notoriously slow starter, and he hasn't been, so that's been great.
I think Oswaldo said something that I loved. He said, I spent the whole spring, all of time in Tampa, watching Soto and his approach, his professionalism in the game, and how he handles his batting practice. They say he goes up, he never tries to hit one out. He always tries to hit ball. He hits them on line drives or ground balls. It's all Soto tries to do during batting practice. And it's amazing that these guys are saying, I don't have to hit a home run every time I get up. I wonder who's been telling them that's baseball. Where did they learn that? That baseball is a game where you go up there and try to hit the ball 9 miles every time you get up. Like it just seems like that's an approach that cannot succeed unless you're maybe the A's, the 88 A's, 89 A's.
Well,
that's all that matters.
We've been talking about this. We have a text string, just for those of you who know us, we have a text string, a couple of them that are going, and we've been talking about the fact that the Yankees with this launch angle and pull and all this stuff, and we were whining about Teixeira, who's the biggest whiner ever about the shift, and we were whining about this for years. And while I'm coaching the high school and the college kids that I coached, all I kept talking about was line drives. Don't give me this launch angle BS. I don't want to hear it. The other thing that I think has been huge for the Yankees is the rebuilt bullpen, the new guys, specifically Hamilton, Birdie, and Ferguson. I mean, Ferguson's been unhittable, as is Hamilton. And Birdie, he's only walked 1 out of the 9 batters he's faced, which is great for a guy who can't throw strikes. So it's there's a lot of good things going on for them. What do you think, Frankie? What are the good things?
Well, they're going to need them. They're going to definitely need those relief pitches. But I looked at the team hitting right now, but 238, not great, but not the worst like it was last year. The home runs, they only the 12th of the league in home runs, 7. But the Mookie Betts has 5.
That's fine.
So
it doesn't matter.
The team pitching is pretty good too. I mean, 2.53.
The relief,
5th in the league.
The relief pitching is good. I think that they're still going into the 5 and 6 innings too often. Too few games getting out of the 5th inning. But
one stat that had no to do with the Yankees, when the Yankees like 61 strikeouts. The Dodgers lead the league in strikeouts in pitching and in hitting.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. So the biggest disappointments, I think, so far have been, disappointing but not horror show as Judge is off to a slow start. But you've also got these other problems. The 52% strikeout rate by our man Giancarlo Stanton. 52% strikeout rate. You take him out of the team stats, and they're a heck of a lot prettier because he's going to get booed tomorrow. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. After his first at bat, if he doesn't get a hit or get on base, he's getting booed when he comes off the field. Nestor, all of a sudden he's, Gaylord Perry and Catfish Hunter. He has first and second inning problems. And then Adam, you pointed this out, and it was unbelievably accurate. And I looked it up after you said something the other day. Clay Holmes last year had a 27% strikeout rate. He's at 4.8% this year.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this last game where he blew the save, that wasn't on him, but he's, 218 batting average against last season, 316 so far this year. And Loizaga has a 368 batting average against. So, there's some things in there that, we got to watch for. And Rizzo's been up and down. He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been good. He's gotten a couple of clutch hits, but he's only hitting about 220 as well. So who knows? And last but not least, Glaber, my favorite punching bag on the Yankees, had a hard hit rate of 40% last year. His hard hit rate right now is at 22.7. And I keep telling you guys in the text string, he's swinging. Every time he swings, his ass is in the third base dugout. And, if he gets an inside pitch, he's going to hit it. If he gets an outside pitch, he's going to have to do what he did yesterday, which was, bloop it over the second baseman. I'll take that hit every time, but that's not going to be a good way to go through the season with your ass in the third base dugout. He had such a great first at bat of the season. And after that, he seems to have been pull happy again.
Yeah.
What do you guys think as far as disappointing so far?
Frank, go ahead.
Well, Stanton. I mean, he doesn't look any better, any different than he did last year. And he's got to be guessing on pitches because he just the way he swings at those slides, he must guess fastball and he's trying to cheat swing because he definitely can't catch up with a fastball anymore. It's just me. Do you think so?
No, I agree.
Oh, yeah.
I think that his chances of hitting a fastball are less than people winning Powerball lately.
Yeah.
It's just not been good.
Yeah. What I don't understand about his fastball. Yeah, so. I mean, it's all he is. He's become a very expensive mistake hitter, and that's it. I think he's done. I just don't see it. I think that the legs are gone, and he loses the legs. He can't fire off of his backside of the front, and it's just. I think that's it. He just doesn't seem to have a lot of his foundation looks bad to me. But I've always thought he was weird. He never seemed to swing right. He always had an abnormal, sort of not a professional baseball player's swing, almost like
all upper body,
like a lumberjack.
All upper body, but he could get away. He got away with it, but now he can't.
But now
he's not. He's not quick enough.
Yeah, if you lose for the foundation, you just can't do it. You can't do it. You can't even if you're all upper body and you don't have a base, it's not going to work. So yeah, I totally think he's done, and I'm just wondering what's going to happen. We're going to get Dominguez back, and what does that mean for I mean, you're going to start seeing his play drop if they get. They're not going to let this guy ruin the season. The season is too important to them. So if he's either going to have to find a way to hit, or he's going to sit. You'll see instead of two games a week.
He's going to end up being he's going to be a left-handed pitcher only player. I think that's what he's going to be by June. And then you're right. Dominguez isn't going to be back till the middle of June or maybe even July or after the All-Star break.
They'll give him that much time.
He's going to go down to the minors and he's going to do it. He's going to have to prove that he can play again. And, with his arm, he's going to have to see what's coming around. I mean, Verdugo really.
They're going to give him plenty of time. They're going to give
June.
Stanton.
June.
Because
3 months.
Listen to Boone. Boonebag is already talking about like how he looks good. He's still firing. He's still got the juice. I'm like, are you kidding me? He's already doing his
52% strikeout rate. 52% strikeout rate. What kind of juice can you have?
He's got nothing.
It's
That's my point. I
ridiculous.
think it's
But
done.
he'll have till the end of June, middle of July, but he'll end up being a platoon DH, and then the Yankees will have to decide at the end of the season whether they just want to wave bye-bye to him if he has another season
Yeah.
like last year. I mean, then again, he's this very streaky guy. For all we know, starting tomorrow, he's going to hit 10 home runs in 20 games. So
Yeah,
who
he could
knows?
do that. He
Well,
could.
it's only 7
I'd be
games. So
perfectly happy. I love being wrong there.
Yeah, it's only 7 games, Frank. You're right. But, there's things. Nestor's got me a little worried only because he can't figure out how to get out of the first or second inning.
He just doesn't look like he's deceiving anybody anymore. Maybe he needs to do a couple of his Louis Tion things. I don't know, but he doesn't seem to be fooling anybody. I don't know if he's tipping, but it looks like everybody's hitting him right away. Gets right to him, and then he seems to come around. He's okay for it, but he's still, by that point, he's got them in a hole. So not seeing it.
I mean, he was never a hard thrower, but he's throwing 90, 91, 92 maybe. He used to be throwing 92, 93, 94. So I did notice that. But then again, look at Stroman. He was the first guy to throw 100 pitches. And, he just went out there, and he's a tiny guy.
By the way. I'm loving Stroman.
Well,
I
one
like
start,
his whole
but yeah.
attitude. Yeah, I mean,
One
one
start,
start.
but yeah.
We're saying that this is our first show on talking about a season.
Yeah.
The season's
And Verdugo's attitude is, like I said, Verdugo's attitude's been good. He got the big hit yesterday. But he's been a double play machine.
Yeah.
He's hitting, I think, 3 or 4 in 7 games.
But the fielding, I love him in left field. I just love how he looks out there. I love he takes weird approaches, weird angles, but boy, does he get to everything, and it's always spectacular. He does it, and he's got good timing for spectacular plays. And he definitely does not. He definitely knows. Who used to say it? He definitely spreads the mustard. Is that like what was
that was Rizzuto say that.
Rizzuto used to say he certainly knows how to spread the mustard. Took a half an hour to come around the plate to come around bases yesterday. Gotta love it.
Well, you hit a home run like that in extra innings. I don't care how long you take.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't show up the other team. He just took his sweet time going around the bases.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And Judge has got it. Judge will end up hitting. I mean, we're not too worried about Judge.
Not worried about Judge. I just think they've got to be careful. We need another inning out of every starter. We need to get them into the 6th because, as good as they are in the bullpen, until the end, until Holmes, they are really going to have a problem come May and June. We'll start seeing it very soon if they don't start getting in a little deeper after 7 games, exactly.
Yeah, but they were talking that there was going to be some closers on the market at the trade deadline. They're talking about Williams from Milwaukee if he comes back and shows that he's healthy, which he should be back well before the trade deadline. And the problem with the guy that I like the Yankees to pick up, because they'll have some control over him, is the guy in Pittsburgh, Bednar. But with Pittsburgh starting off hotter than the Yankees, they're not gonna get rid of him so fast. They may actually end up being buyers and not sellers. So we'll see. I mean, I don't want any part of Kenley Jansen, but the Red Sox certainly will look to deal him at the end of he's at the end of his contract.
Yeah.
But you can't have him as your closer either, because even when he was at his best, he wasn't good at the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else you guys want to add? Frankie, you want to add anything else about the Yankees?
No, I was going to say the same thing about the pitching. If they get one more inning out of them, out of the starters, because the bullpen's going to be, taxed a lot.
Yeah,
they got to keep going that many innings.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, if Ian Hamilton, can keep that up. One of you guys needs to silence your phone or put it on Do Not Disturb. So that being the case, before we get to the topic of the day, I want to remind everybody here that there are a lot of shows on the Mic'd Up app. And a couple that I want to highlight today is, first of all, the Rick Barry Show with Rick Barry and his sidekick Cyrus. Rick Barry, a former NBA star and NBA Hall of Famer, Golden State Warriors legend, and 75th anniversary team member. Rick, and he brings his fiery personality to the mic, and he talks about his former team, the NBA, and so much more. And everybody who knows anything about Rick knows he's not short of opinions, and he's willing to back up what he says with facts. So it's good to listen to a guy like Rick Barry. Another show you guys might want to check out is the Jim Darby Show. Jim's a former Eastern sports executive and author of author. He previews his book, Bears and the Bigs, which features the Cal Bears, who have reached the major leagues. He's also got plenty of insights into his 40 years of working in the sporting goods industry with Major League Baseball players, NHL players, as well as NFL players. And then there's our friends, of course, from the Highlights from the Lowlifes, who we always highlight because they're such lowlifes. But they talk about the cross between pop culture and sports. And they give you plenty of opportunity to give them their lists of what's important and what's not. I also want to remind everybody, if you want to participate in today's show, you still have a chance to hit the microphone, leave us as many 30-second messages as you want, and we'll be glad to get to as many as we can. So, topic of the day is the best and worst starts in sports. We do have a baseball slant, but we do want to ask, does a hot start or a slow start make a difference? And we're going to start with a comment from Rick Barry. Let's see what Mr. Barry, who definitely has experienced hot and close starts with his New York Nets and his Golden State Warrior days.
Getting off to a great start isn't necessarily a recipe for success, and getting off to a bad start doesn't mean that you still can't win at all. However, getting off to a good start is preferable. In 1975, our Golden State Warriors won the championship, and we got off to a great start, which definitely helped us. There's nothing like having a positive mindset moving forward. Success at the start of the season certainly enhances the chances for a team to be successful during that season and can set the stage for a championship. Rick Barry.
He did get a lot of words in his 30 seconds.
Boy,
He didn't go out on a
that.
limb like he usually would do, though. I mean, a good start is better than a slow start. Well, yeah, of course it is. But, look, that Golden State team he's talking about got off to a red-hot start. He understated how good they were. And they just rode that wave all the way through for the rest of the season. But it's good to get a professional athlete's opinion on what goes through the mindset of a player for a hot start.
Our first celebrity. What an amazing, aside from Kramer, the only celebrity we've had.
Uh-oh, that was his first mention of his name.
Thank you.
We need a Kramer comment.
Nah, Kramer's mad at us. He's not going to make a comment. Although now he might stick his nose in. He's like, ooh, I might be able to be on the same show as Rick Barry. So Rick Barry can help us bring Kramer back. So is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm fine. No, I had dinner with Kramer last night. It was very nice to see Kramer last night. We had.
How many dinners did he order?
He only ordered one. I was proud, but he did the check again, and he took all the cash again. He always takes all the cash.
Well, he needs the miles. And did you check his math?
We have an accountant on the team too, so we had him do a double back just to make sure. But it was a very nice meal. Uncle Jack's down on 34th and 9th Avenue. Great time.
As opposed to the one in Queens we went to when I was in town.
That's right. So, but Kramer said hello. Kramer's doing well, and that's fine with me. So, what was that?
I spoke to Kramer today.
Congratulations. I didn't speak to him today. I texted with him.
I thought he'd be on the show.
Yeah.
It's early. He can still come in. So, yeah, I mean, this is an interesting topic. And, there are instances where you have the teams that have gotten off to great starts. You've got, and that didn't go all the way. And then you've got the teams that got off to, bad starts that, for the most part, when a team gets off to a really bad start, like the Baltimore Orioles, 1988, probably the worst ever, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to make the playoffs. But there's some instances where teams get off to tough starts, not great. They lose their fan base. They lose a manager. And then they somehow turn it around and win. Look at the Phillies a couple of years ago. Our buddy, Joe Girardi. Perfect example. That team was going nowhere fast. Girardi gets, canned. And Bobby Thompson takes over. And
Bobby Thompson? Did he hit a home run?
Thompson takes over. And then we get a World Series. That's pretty cool. So it does happen. But to me, the team that always amazed me for the best starts, I remember the Mariners in in 2001, getting off to a 20-4 start. I'm sorry. Yes, 24 start, and then winning 116 games. And it was upsetting because the Yankees had just a couple of years earlier broken or come close to a record. I think they had the American League record for the most wins in a season, and kind of got taken over. But the interesting thing about it is that they lost to the Yankees in the LCS. So as great a season as that was, as historic, they ended up not getting very much out of it. So, you know, a great start is for the most part, most teams that have gotten off to the big, the think about somebody like the Tigers in 35-5, their start, they went off to just blow everybody away, and the Padres in the World Series.
The first team I remember getting off to a killer start that was in '82. I actually remember the Braves in '82.
Right.
And they got off to that 13-0 start, and they came out of nowhere because they were not good for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up winning the NL East and then lost to the Cardinals 3-0 in the NLCS.
And their record, they were only 89-73.
Yep,
I mean, that's another thing, to start off that good and then just sort of, withered.
Frankie, you remember which is the team that sticks out in your mind that got off to a hot start that is the first one you can remember?
Definitely the Tigers. I mean, they just rolled. I mean, I love that. I think with the Game 5 when Gossage was pitching to Gibson and they wanted to walk him. I think Dick Williams game before, and the rest is history. He hit that home run. Yeah. That won the game.
Who did he hit it off?
Gossage.
That's right. Yeah. Gossage says forever. He always goes like this. Why didn't I do it?
That was just a sensational season. I mean, you don't get 35-5. Was it 35-5 or 30? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they were 35-5. That Mariner team was not only 24-4. I think you said them. They were 47-13.
Yeah,
they were out of control. Good. They got off to some killer starts. I mean, they got off to the 47-13 start was as good a start as anybody had since the 07 Cubs, the 39 Yankees. Those teams went 47-13 as well. I mean, that was some of the best starts ever. I mean, that Mariner team was out of control.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of former Yankees on that team. A guy named Jay Buhner, maybe?
Yeah, Buhner, and then a couple. You got the A-Rod.
I could trade Jay Buhner.
And then that was A-Rod's last year with the team. Or was it? Did A-Rod leave the year before?
A-Rod left before. I think he left before.
And what about Griffey? I think Griffey
was definitely on that team.
Or maybe it was the other way around. Griffey might have left.
No, Griffey was on the team.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And then and just to just lose to the Yankees. I remember the Yankees sort of manhandled. It wasn't even like a little bit. Like, I remember I went to the first game, and I remember A-Rod hitting a bomb, right into Monument Park and the old stadium. And I was just thinking, this team is just going to win. And the Yankees just, stuck to it and beat them in the way they do, which is those teams were great at taking walks. Took a lot of walks and wore these guys down. And that was it. And they beat them badly. And that team isn't remembered for very much.
So I take it back. That 2001 team, there was no A-Rod. No A-Rod, no Griffey.
Neither, really. So
there's Buhner.
When did A-Rod hit that?
Buhner only played 19 games that year. But they had Olerud had a killer year. Mm-hmm. Brett Boone had a great year. Mike Cameron hit 25 home runs and knocked in 110 runs that year. And then, of course, they had Ichiro hit 350.
That was his rookie year, right?
Yeah, and then, of course, Edgar Martinez had an Edgar Martinez year, 23 homers, 116 RBIs, 306. Just typical Edgar Martinez.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Imagine having him up with Ichiro on base every game. I mean, it must have been an incredible team. But did he win both did he win the MVP as well as the Rookie of the Year that year?
Ichiro, I'm looking it up real quick. Why can't I find his awards? There it is. Ichiro won in 2001. He won the batting title, the MVP, and the Rookie of the Year.
Oh my God, that's a tough triple. That's the toughest triple crown you can imagine.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The pitching on that team was pretty interesting too, because they had Freddie Garcia won 18 games, Jamie Morial won 20 games. Paul Abbott won 17 games. Aaron Seeley won 15 games. I mean, you got 5 starters with 15 or more wins. You might as well be the 70. What was it? 73 Orioles with the 420 game winners.
That's right. That's right.
And then they had Nelson and Stanton in the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
Now, in a team that got off to an amazing start and just sort of never went far, I keep thinking of the 75 Red Sox. I don't have the numbers in front of me if you want to pull it up. But I think that it was a point where they were not just 17 games ahead of 14 games ahead of the Yankees, but they were, that was another year. Sorry, mixing up 78. But I just remember that team in 78 getting off to an incredible start and then just dying. And this is, again, 78, my bad. And
I mean, they still won 97 games. They still won 97.
They won 97 games, but they were so ahead of the Yankees. But I remember their record; they just wouldn't lose that year, And then the second half was a disaster. What about you, Frank? Tell us about your, something you remember from great starts to a season.
Oh, the 98 Yankees had a great start. I mean, they had a blip the first week, and then they ran with it.
What happened? How was that opening night?
And was it the 22 Yankees? 22. The Yankees had the same start, 64 and 28.
Yeah. That 98 team went 19-6 their first 25 games.
Yeah. But
after being 1-4.
Yeah.
Being 1-4. Remember Pussy Toad? Remember the great moment when the Yankees were coming home from Oakland, and they had lost in Oakland. They won one game in Seattle, and then they were on the plane back, and Steinbrenner called Hideki Irabu a fat pussy toad. What a thing to say.
So the Yankee team in 2003 started off 20-5 and didn't make the postseason. How's that one?
2003.
Yep, they went 20-5 and finished. Oh no, sorry, I got the wrong. 2003, they lost the World Series. I got the wrong year. Sorry, 101 and 61 and lost in the World Series. And the other team that's interesting, 77, the Dodgers were 21-4 and finished with 104 wins and then lost in the World Series to the Yankees.
Yeah.
So you got some good starts.
Yeah.
Like I said, better than a bad
But
start.
I think that it's interesting that you mentioned the 03 Yankees, but also the Marlins. The Marlins got off. I mentioned in our pre-show here the Marlins got off to a 16-22 season. Weren't doing very well. They fired Jeff Torborg, and they brought in Jack McKeon, and he went on to a 75-49 rest of the season. Went on to beat the Yankees in 6 painfully.
So I want to chime in here with Jim Darby from his show. Left us a message as well with his thoughts, and he'll be able to bring us some insights from his time with a lot of different professional athletes.
Hey guys, here are my thoughts. This is Jim Darby. My thoughts on the season. Like you say, spring hope's eternal. But what it comes down to, if you look at it, is after the first couple of 3 weeks of the season, are you seeing improvement in some of the players? Is the team playing like a team? Or are they going the other way around? And also, obviously, what about injuries? Are guys staying healthy? So, like we said, spring hope.
30-second rule. He got cut off. But yeah, I think he's got a good point. Like we were just talking about Stanton, right? It's 7 games. The Yankees are 6-1. He hasn't hurt them yet. Does he turn it around in the second week? Does he turn it around the third week? When does he get injured? Is really another question. So I think Jim raised a great point.
Yeah, the thing about that, it makes me think of something else. Why is it that we care about getting off to a 6-1 start when they're going to win 6 out of 7 sometime in May and June? Why does it matter? What is it about the mindset of getting off to a good start for athletes that allows them to continue that momentum? Is it really a momentum builder? And why is that 6 wins at the beginning of the season means anything better than anything more than 6 wins in a 2-week period in July? It's the same amount of wins. It's the same. Looks the same in the standings schedule. You increase by that same amount in your winning percentage. What is it that's what's happening exactly? But I think because athletes are who they are, they're able to take maybe that momentum means a lot to them. Getting off to a good start, like Rick Barry just said. It gets in your head and you start to build on it. Maybe that's
What do you think,
seems
Frank?
to work.
What do you think, Frankie?
The same thing if you have teams start 0-4, it's a disaster. But if you lose 4 games in the middle of June, it's no big deal. But it's the mindset. As a fan, it drives you crazy because you start thinking as a fan, my team's 0-4. They got to win 5 in a row just to go be 500 because they got to win 4 in a row and then if they lose one, they have to win another one to stay 500. But it's tough. So that's the way people think. It's but as a fan, it's harder. I think.
I think getting off, think about it when we play, right? If you start off your season, because we still playing, well, Frankie's not in a fat man's league because he's not fat, but Adam and I are.
I am.
We, when you start off, and especially when we only play like once a week, if you go 0 for 4 that first week, it eats away at you.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
at our age 60 and older years, it eats away at you. You're like, oh my God, did I lose it? Do I suck now? And, as a major leaguer, at least they get to go back out there the next day. But, a lot of what you hear on the various announcers on almost every team, especially, all the former players, confidence plays a big role, In basketball, they call it a heat check, right? The guy's just firing the ball up from everywhere. In baseball, they say the ball looks like a big beach ball, right? It's just, that Bull Durham speech where he talks about the difference between 250 and 300 is a hit a week. Really, it's only one hit a week is the difference between 250 and 300.
Yeah.
Confidence is going to play a role, And then, 3 weeks later, every time somebody gets a hit in our league, or even when I was coaching in the high school and college, I said, guy hits a little blooper over second base and the guys are hassling him. And I'm like, hey, guys, 3 weeks from now, he's going to tell everybody it was a line drive, one hopper right to the right fielder that he got a knocked in a run. I said, who cares?
Yeah.
At the end of the season, you don't remember what your hits are. You remember, you could look at your stats and go, oh, yeah. You might remember a home run or a game-winning hit, but a random hit in the middle of a game that's, you're not going to, you just know you got a hit. You don't care. And confidence plays a role. You look at those numbers and you're like, it definitely helps to get off to a better start. I think, Rick said it. But yeah, the second week and the third week, I think when we talk next week, if we're seeing Stanton with a 52% strikeout rate still, this could be comments. And if Judge is still hitting 160, we're going to probably be like, okay, well, maybe he'll turn it around. But, I do think it snowballs. It definitely snowballs on the negative as well, if not more so on the negative.
Yeah.
And speaking of the negative, let's go with my friend Matt Shell. I think he's got something enlightening to say about his team, the Mets.
Hey, this is Matt Shale calling. If the Mets continue this stellar brand of ball through the summer, I've been thinking about taking up some hobbies I've been avoiding, like learning Spanish in 120 days or training for a marathon, or something I've really been putting off, which is volunteering for highway cleanup, preferably in the summer months in Florida. It's good for character building.
Matt, I'm hoping it's really volunteer work and not court ordered. That's really what I'm worried about. I know you, Matt, and it might be court ordered, wouldn't it be? So yeah, that's what happens. The fans get down pretty darn quick.
It's painful to hear that because it's been a week. They've rained out 4 times already or something ridiculous. They haven't been able to get into a groove. Temperatures haven't been. I'm in New York. They had not been good here. It's just not a good time. I'm wondering how it's going to be tomorrow at Yankee Stadium. You really can't. But they are so down on them right now. You got to hear it. And at the same time, a lot of people are ridiculous about the Yankees. They're saying the Yankees, it feels like 98 all over again. I said, no, because 98, we were miserable after this many games. They were terrible to start 98. So, the people don't know what they're talking about. This because there's no way you can say that. And I feel the same way about the Mets. It's like, come on, give an opportunity to lose some games. Give them a week or two before you say it's over.
I think with the Yankees, though, the other big thing for the Yankees was, they swept 4 games from Houston. Yes, Houston's got,
That was a big
two or three, 3 starters for sure, who are not in the rotation right now, right? Yeah. Verlander, Urquidy, and McCullers. But McCullers is like Stanton; he's always hurt. So it's interesting. They did win 4 games in Houston. They didn't allow a lot of home runs in Houston, which is more of a bandbox than Yankee Stadium. And I think that makes a difference with what Yankee fans are saying. But I do think there is a danger of getting too high. And I don't mean with bong hits. I mean getting too high and saying, okay, we're 6-1. We got this. It doesn't always work that way. There's plenty of teams who had good starts who didn't necessarily make the playoffs, right? A little bit more of them make the playoffs now because of the wild card and everything like that. But back in the day, you had a lot of teams that didn't make the playoffs because they didn't finish in first place. So you got, and you look, I'm looking at some of these numbers, right? And you've got teams that didn't make the playoffs. Teams that get off to good starts have pretty much been getting into the playoffs. If they get up to a good 30-game start, they're getting into the playoffs now because of the wild card, or because they win a division. But they're definitely getting into the playoffs since the wild card came into play. But that's after a 30 or 40-game stretch. Nobody's making or not making the playoffs after 10 games.
It's funny. 4 of the 5 teams that I said they got off to great starts all did it in the pre-wild card year. I got the Braves. I got the Tigers. We talked about them. I got the Mets in '86 getting off to 20-4, and then winning 108. And then the Mariners, as we know. The only team that I thought that in this era got off to a start and really just seemed to never stop were the Red Sox in 18, 17-2, and then they won 108 games. They just never seemed to stop that year.
Right.
So, that's to me, the doing it in an era before a wild card. That had to be hard. That's momentum that just keeps building.
Well, you couldn't fall to second place before the wild card, so that does make it more difficult. You got to win the division or you're out.
Exactly. So now you can always get hot, start the season off, have a 3-month period. Like, look at the Yankees in 22. That team didn't deserve to go to the playoffs after the first half that they had. The second half was a disaster. And did anybody think the Yankees had an opportunity to move beyond the first round in 22 after the way they played? They got lucky because of Harrison Bader. But that team got off to an amazing start, and the only reason they got where they needed to go is because of that start. Anywhere else, they probably see themselves. I think if you gave the Yankees 2 more weeks that season, they may not have made the playoffs. It was that bad. Remember?
Yeah. Didn't they stumble home? One of the years they won the World Series, they stumbled. They stumbled at the end of the season really badly, but then ended up in the
Mets.
playoffs just going, we're going to win now.
Was that one?
Was it? Yeah.
They won 89 games and they won the World Series. 87.
The 9th best record in baseball that year.
In 2000, Frank?
Yeah.
Well,
all the playoff teams had a better record, and one team that didn't make the playoffs had a better record than the Yankees.
Yeah. Well, now that we've been so positive about this stuff, we have 3 guys who brought in pretty much the same message. So I'm going to play 3 back-to-back messages, starting with our friend Rob Weber from Highlights from Lowlifes.
You got to talk about the 1988 Orioles. I think they lost the first 21 games. They fired their manager, Cal Ripken Sr., after 6 games, and it took them another 16 games to win for the first time that year.
Really can't blame Ripken for that, can you? You really can't blame the manager when
But Frank Robinson in. He couldn't change it.
No, that team had Fred Lynn, Eddie Murray, and Cal Ripken Jr. Yeah, let's see what Big Juicy has to say.
Well, the season's just a week old, and already there's some talk about the A's tanking, demoting Esteury Ruiz to AAA Vegas, hitting 429 after 5 games. It's a small sampling, but still, he's the hottest player they had, and they demote him to AAA. But if they're going to tank, they have more work to do because right now the Mets and the Marlins have 0 for records, and the A's at least have 1 win, so they got work to do.
That would be my coach this year, Big Juicy. I'll call him Captain, my captain.
All right.
Dave
well,
Hall.
and let's give credit to the Mets. They did win today. So they did win.
The Marlins
Right?
lost, though.
They were winning early.
Frankie, did they end up winning a game today?
The Mets won the second game. I think the Marlins lost, though, didn't they?
So, yeah.
Marlins lost again.
Marlins lost again.
Wow.
Well, they come to New York
Marlins
next
may make
week.
some trades.
Yeah.
Didn't you see that they might go?
Yeah.
They're talking about Luzardo again.
Yeah, I said that to you guys. Is do the Marlins? How long do they wait? I mean, they've got a couple of guys that they were talking about trading, and Luzardo and Arise and things like that they were holding on to because they did make a nice run last year. But we'll see what happens. How long they're going to hold on to them? But they have control over a lot of these guys, and we'll see what happens. They got a couple of pitchers who are hurt that would look in that might have been on the trading block as well. But that's the other thing is what impact does it have on your team? It doesn't have an impact on a team like the A's because there's really not much there that people want. But a team like the Marlins, they've got pitching. They've got a couple of young guys. I would think if Chisholm can make a comeback year out of his season, he wasn't bad last year considering how bad he was the previous 2 years. But if he could have another healthy season, he could be a trade deadline pickup for somebody. He's not a bad center fielder or outfielder now, and he's still going to hit his 20 homers and steal 20 bases. So we'll see. I don't want to leave your brother out, and he had a comment as well, Adam.
The 1988 Baltimore Orioles, no doubt about it. Oh, by the way, this is your brother Steve.
He should just be Rabbi Steve.
We didn't know.
So the 88 Orioles went 0-21 and finished at 54-107. They had 1 extra game rained out.
And what's incredible is after they were 0-21, they went on to they actually played almost okay at 55-85 the rest of the way.
I wouldn't say that's okay.
How's that okay?
Hey, trying to put lipstick on a pig, all right? Trying to help.
So, hey, just more recently, though, the Reds in 22 went 3-22. I mean, that's pretty bad.
I remember that.
And they finished 62-120. They actually had a worse record.
Wait a minute.
Sorry, they finished 62-100. There's a typo on my page.
That's amazing.
Sorry.
That's
62-100.
Really good. If you get off to a 3-23, would you say 3-23?
22.
They were 62.
And then to end up only losing 100, you're on pace for 62 Mets there. And that's pretty good.
You had the 2003 Tigers were also 3-22, and they finished 43-119.
Mm-hmm.
Last year's A's, 5-20, and they finished 50-112. There's been some bad teams recently.
There have been some very bad teams because there's some really good teams too. There are a lot of teams winning 100 games now, so you got to be. Usually, you have, a winning team. Didn't you have a year where the Dodgers and the Giants won 104 games or something? Some ridiculous amount.
Yes, they both won 100 and something games.
Someone's got to lose a lot to have that many wins in one division. So it makes sense. But what I would love, would be a fun, future if we ever want to talk about this subject again. Maybe not, but if we do, to see, is there anything about any team that was terrible or and had one player that was still otherworldly, did something great? The 69 Indians were 4-21 to get off to start and they ended up losing 99 games, but somehow Sam McDowell won 18 games that year and was 18-2 or something ridiculous. How do you have a team that's that bad and one guy who's that good and everybody else sucks?
Well, didn't Andre Dawson win the MVP for the Cubs and they finished in last place?
Yeah. I mean,
Mike Trout's never won anything, and he's won 2 MVPs, hasn't he?
yeah, but his team's
Didn't
never
Steve Carlton
that
have a
bad.
good year? Like, and the team was terrible.
Who?
What was that?
Young. I'm not sure. I got to check.
Oh,
that out.
Felix Hernandez won the Cy Young, and Seattle wasn't that good, didn't he? And he only won like 13 games too.
I think that what I mean is, there are probably a lot of teams that aren't great, and then they have great players. But I mean, a team that's just historically bad and still has a good player that does something great. How that must feel to be the only good player on your team. And that's, think about it. Probably Mantle in 1966 had to probably feel that way about the Yankees. He was the only good player on that team who was good anymore on the 65 and 66 Yankees. It was pretty much Mantle. So, and he wasn't a shadow of what he was, but still, it's got to be tough.
So, did you mention Steve Carlton? Is that who you were talking about?
Didn't he have? Yeah.
No,
a great
Sam
year,
McDowell.
No, I was talking about Frankie.
Yeah. What were the 72? Yeah, Phillies.
72 Phillies. I just looked it up because that's what I was looking at as well. Trying to get their record. I don't see it.
I might be wrong. I don't know.
No, they were bad. 59 and 97.
Yeah, and he won 27.
And he went 27 and 10.
Yeah.
How's that, Adam? Your team wins 59 games and you win 27. That's better than even Sam McDowell. He went 27 and 10.
That's what I mean. I mean, that's just incredible. How is that even possible? The team
first of all,
raised their game.
Started 41 games.
And how many did he complete? Did he complete 27 of them?
Well, I do know he threw 346 innings and he threw 30 complete games.
Yeah, I mean that's what's different. That's the thing that can't happen anymore.
But still, the team was so bad. They won 59 games and he won 27 of them.
So how did they win? What was it that he did that nobody else could do? And why were their offense had to be terrible that year? And was his ERA 1.2? I mean, if
1.9.
Yeah.
1.9.
I mean, talk about pitching winning games. I mean, that's incredible. It really is.
And he threw 346 innings, but he only struck out 310 guys. Didn't even strike out a guy in an inning. What kind of Cy Young Award winner is that?
Blacker.
Their leading home run hitter was Greg Luzinski with 18. Don Money, their third baseman, had 15.
Hey,
Willie Montanez, one of my favorite players ever, played center field for them that year and had 13 homers.
Was Mike Schmidt on that team?
No. Don Money was their third baseman. Come on, Don Money played for the Brewers.
We remember him from the Brewers. That's how we remember him.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad team, and he won 27 games.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim McCarver, he caught 45 games. So he caught 40 games when Carlton pitched.
Right.
So he played 5 other games. So
see, that's
I take it back.
Topic.
Schmidt was on that team.
Yeah, I thought so.
Schmidt was on that team, but he only played 20 games.
He wasn't the Schmidt of later. He was.
No, he was. He only played. He played 13 games. It was his first time up that year. In 13 games, he batted 206. But his first real year was 73, is when he came up for real. So 72, he just had a taste in September. It looks like.
And what do you think about the team like the 73 Mets? That we're kind of going off topic a little bit, but I think it's still interesting that team was terrible for the first half of the year. They were way under 500, and then they had this just insane second half, and then they beat out the Cubs. And the Cubs everyone seemed to tank in that team, in that division. Do you remember that? I remember that team, and I just couldn't believe that the Yankees were not. I was angry because the Yankees I thought were a better team that year than the Mets. I thought the Yankees were going to win that season, and then they just died in the summer that year. But before that, it was, and then it was just the Mets, and then the Mets. Oh, I remember Mets owning New York during that time, man. That was not a pretty moment, but they were so bad. 73 and 69 was that it? I mean.
In 1973, the Mets won 82 and 79.
82 and 79.
And it was the Cardinals and the Pirates that they caught. 69 is when they caught the Cubs.
That's right. And that was the Black Cat, remember? The Black Cat start.
Yeah, and even then, the Cubs won 77 games that year. The Cardinals won 500. So, but that the Mets beat the Reds, who won 99 games in the playoffs. This is ready. The Reds won 99 games. The Dodgers won 95 games. The Giants won 88 games, and only the Reds made the playoffs.
Wow. Yeah.
So.
That's what it was like back then. And that was the first, those were, the early years of the 3 divisions. And
nope, that was 2 divisions. That was only 2 divisions.
69?
69 was only one division. Yeah. 2 divisions in 73, though.
That's what I meant to say. The 2 division.
Yeah. So, but who knows? Do you guys have anything else you want to add about winners, losers, Yankees, otherwise?
No.
So I think we beat the horse to death here with regard to hot teams and worst start teams.
Do we have any more? Did anyone else?
No, we're good with comments. We're done. We got everything in that we needed to get in. I think,
as Yankee fans, you remember in 22 when they started with that hot season, real Yankee fans knew that was fake. I mean, you didn't believe it. I remember, I don't know if it was Verducci or was it Joe Sherman that's when the Yankees were hot and everybody was comparing them to 98 Yankees, and Michael Kay had him on and said, are we looking at the 98 Yankees? And he said, I remember the 98 Yankees. I knew the 98 Yankees. They know 98 Yankees.
You're no 98 Yankees.
Right. The Yankees played 500 the second half of the season.
For the next year and a half.
Yes. Below 500, really, but that's okay. Yeah. So that was right. The 22 and 20, and then last year it carried over. And hopefully this year we'll see what happens. I mean, it's a long.
But what happened? What do you think happened in 22? Why did they suddenly? What was
I think they played over their head. I think they played way over their head in that first half. That's just me. They didn't. I don't know. They weren't as good as they looked. I mean, as their record was. I don't think it's hard to say that. You are what your record is, but next week should be pretty good, though. I mean, they're playing the Marlins and the Jays will do nothing. So.
Well, the Jays. You never know with the Jays. They have so much offense. It'll be interesting. I mean, in 22, they basically rode Judge's 62 homers. I mean, he carried them for the first half, and then that was that.
Yeah.
Stanton had an excellent first half that year, and then he got hurt. So, who knows? The team was not very good. The pitching wasn't that good. They had Cole, Tyon, Cortez, Montgomery. Severino got hurt. Herman. Who knows?
But we have Joey Gallo at that?
Yes, Joey Gallo hit his 21 home runs and batted whatever he batted. Joey Gallo, 12 home runs and 159 batting average. I'd like to see. I wonder, Gallo had more strikeouts than he had his strikeout number was higher than his batting average number one year. Right? He had struck out over 200 times and he hit 190.
He got 3 hits yesterday.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Wow.
He was 0-for, and then he got, I think, a home run with 3 hits.
All right. I think that's it. We beat this to death for the day. We'll see what happens next week with our Yankees, and we'll figure out what our topic of the day is. I want to thank our callers, and especially Rick Barry and Jim Darby, who called in and gave us some insight on what they thought about from their experience either being or hanging around professional athletes for a significant period of time. And thank Frankie the Yankee for joining us.
Thank you.
Adam, good luck in prison.
I'll get out. Would you come visit me, buddy? I need a hacksaw and a big cake.
My wife will bake you a cake, and I'll put a file in it.
You better call Kramer.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine Kramer coming in a suit? I'm here, Snyder. I'm here. I love you guys. All right. Talk to you later.
You got to get. All right. That being the case, this is how we're going to end our show today. Then, with Adam needing a defense attorney. All right, guys. We will see you at another time, at another place. Ta-ta for now.
Bye-bye.